Hi there, I'm Ned Luberecki, and welcome to Banjo Tips with Ned at Bluegrass Unlimited. Today, I want to talk about a couple of little technical issues that can help you sound better in your banjo playing, and there are a couple of the common mistakes that I hear from beginning players and sometimes even intermediate players. If you'll work on a few of these, it's going to make you sound a lot better, and it's better to sound good than to be good. That's what I always say. I don't really always say that, but anyway, here are a few of the tips. We'll start with some left-hand techniques, and the left-hand techniques that are mostly used on the banjo are, of course, slides, pull-offs, and hammer-ons. We'll start with the slide, and we'll start with the basic old Cripple Creek slide. This one. Everybody should know that one. Here's the common mistake that I hear with the Cripple Creek slide an awful lot. It comes out sounding like this. Now, you hear that? You hear how it's kind of muting the sound at the end of the slide? What's happening is I'm lifting my finger off of the slide or off of the string before the slide is really complete. I'm doing the slide and then letting go. If I hold that down, it sounds a lot cleaner, doesn't it? So I want to hold that string down through the whole rest of that roll. So slide. That note's still there. Now, another question comes up. Do you slide to the 3rd fret or the 4th fret? Well, that's actually a choice, and that's up to you. They have a different sound, and sometimes I'll do one, sometimes I'll do the other. The 3rd fret plays a B flat note, which against that B note is kind of dissonant. Gives you a really bluesy kind of sound. So if I play it that way, you can hear a little bit of that note ringing in there, and it gives it a little edge. Now, if I slide all the way to the 4th fret, it sounds much cleaner. So you can make the decision as to which one of those you like the sound of better, or you can even split the difference. I know some people that like to do it this way. They play the slide, and they actually choke it just a little bit. They bend that note just slightly. Listen to Earl Scruggs. You'll hear him do that sometimes. It's a cool sound. Another question is, do you slide first before that second note, or do you have it simultaneously? So what I mean is, you can slide. To me, that always sounds a little bit jumpy. Listen to it. If I slide simultaneously, it means I play this note, and then I slide and pick that next note at the same time. Sounds cleaner to me. Now, when you're going really fast, there's less of a difference there. But that's the few things you can think about when you're playing slides. Pull-offs, that's the next one. And pull-offs are really a tricky one to learn how to do on the banjo. So, the first question that I usually get from people on a pull-off is, do you pull up or do you pull down? Which is the right way to do it? The truth is, again, I'm going to say whichever one you can do better. I know a lot of people that prefer to pull down, which what I'm talking about is you're fretting two notes here on the 3rd and 2nd frets of the 3rd string. And if I pull my finger down toward the floor, I'm doing a pull off in that direction. The other way to do it is to push your finger up, like that, toward the sky. To me, I've always gotten a little clearer sound by doing the push up toward the sky instead of pulling down. I can do it both ways, and sometimes I'll mix it up, but figure out which one that you can get the best sound of, and the same thing applies as did in the slides. If I pull off, if I pull my fingers away too fast, you see I got a really muted sound out of that. So I want to make sure and hold down that second note. Whether I pull down or push up. The other one, and this is the only thing, the only solution to this is it takes a lot of practice. Do it slowly, do it repetitively, keep practicing it, and try to make sure that you can get a little bit of pull out of that string without pulling into the other strings. It takes some practice and some technique, but getting those pull-offs clean going to really change the way you sound. Now, with the slide, remember I said I like them to sound simultaneous? The pull-off, I actually like to happen just ahead of that second note. So you hear I'm going 1, 2, pull off, 1. So So it almost comes out like a little triplet, like a little da-da-da-da. It sort of sounds that way. Pull-offs will sound a little more snappy if you do that. And that also, having that follow-up note come in just the right time, sort of adds to the sound that you're getting as far as that snap from the pull-off. Timing is as big a part of doing a pull-off as making sure that the snap happens just right. That's for your pull-offs. Hammer-ons. Hammer-ons are the other technique that you're going to do on the banjo, and that's where you drop a finger straight down. Like that one is a really common hammer-on that happens in Cumberland Gap. And the same thing here happens with hammer-ons as with slides and pull-offs. If I lift my finger away too quickly, I go... You hear how that note just sort of sounds really dull? If I hold that note down, now the hammer-on, once again, I like it to sound sort of like the slide comes simultaneously. Making those things sound right like that, just paying attention to those extra little details is the real big difference between the amateurs and the pros. Listen to players like Kristen Scott Benson or Jim Mills. Their pull-offs, their slides, their hammer-ons, they sound perfect every single time. And it's not an accident. They worked hard on that, believe me. Another one for your left hand technique, and this is the only last thing I'm going to go into about left hand technique. In the beginning of lots of guitar and banjo and other string instrument books, you always see, especially the old ones. I'm thinking about these ones that I used to see, years ago, and it would have a picture of a guy sitting in the front, and he would say, "Here is the proper way to hold your instrument to play the guitar." And he'd have his arms out at like 90 degrees, and it just looked really ridiculous. But one of the things they always showed was putting the thumb right in the middle of the back of the neck and then playing like this. There's actually something to that. As banjo players, since the banjo tends to be a little neck heavy, you put it in your lap, and since they're round, they kind of want to go like that. They sort of want to slide over like this. So we have a tendency to grab the neck with your left hand and then hold it while you're playing with your right hand. This is a bad habit to get into, and here's a couple of the reasons why. If your hand is palming the back of the neck, if your wrist is sort of bent in this way and you're holding the banjo this way, you're really limiting yourself in how quickly you can move up and down the banjo neck, and also limiting yourself in how far you can reach. Here's an experiment to try. Put your index finger on the 4th string, 5th fret, and then your middle finger on the 6th fret, your ring finger on the 7th fret, and your pinky finger on the 8th fret. So I've got 4 fingers all on one string, just going up 1 fret at a time. Now you see, my wrist is sort of bent out this way. There's a lot of space here between between the palm of my hand and the banjo neck. If I had my hand bent in this way and I try to do that same thing, I can't make my little finger go that far to even reach that fret. But if I do it this way, it's really easy. Now, just for the sake of argument, let's try index finger there and my little finger there. Or how about the 10th fret? How about the 11th fret? Can I reach the 12th? Not really, but that's ridiculous. Nobody would ever need to do that. But being able to reach just 4 frets, that's something you're going to need to be able to do. Plus, if I have my hand this way and I try to play a lick like this, I'd never be able to do it. It's just too much friction. So there's some left-hand techniques that you can take with you and try to make sure and practice those while you're practicing the banjo. For right hand, just give you a couple of pointers here, and the first one I would do is an awful lot of times when we're practicing the banjo, we're practicing at home where we're trying to be quiet, not wake everybody up, and you're not surrounded by other sounds, you're not playing with other musicians, and so we tend to practice really quietly. People will practice. And then you get to a jam session and you start playing, and everybody is playing so much louder than you and you can't hear you at all. So practice out loud. Practice like you mean it. Go ahead and practice like you're going to be at a jam, because that way when you get there, you'll know that you have the power to do it. Now, you don't want to overpower everything all the time, but you need to be able to play with a little bit of strength if you're going to be playing in a jam session or a band or any time with other people. The other thing that I notice is when people practice quietly at home, they tend to move their hand way up away from the bridge because it's a nice, pretty, mellow sound you can get up there. But when you start playing a little bit louder and you're that far away from the bridge, you get a lot of pick noise. Listen. You hear how it kind of sounds mushy, and you get a lot of this, that sizzling sound of the picks hitting the vibrating string. Well, the strings are vibrating a lot more, or at least they're moving a lot more closer to the middle of the strings than they are down here. So if I play up here, I get a lot of pick noise. When I play down here, I have a much cleaner sound. So get used to playing your leads, your solos, and things like that down here close to the bridge. Play kind of hard, play hard enough so that people can hear you in a jam session. And you'll be able to find the right sweet spot for the best tone of your instrument. Now, when you're moving and playing up high on the neck, now is the time to move your hand up here. See how much prettier that sounds? But down here, that'll give you a little tonal advantage with your right hand positioning. The other things to watch out for with your right hand, making sure that your picks aren't digging in too far to the strings. You can check on that by looking down at your strings from this kind of angle. So I'm looking straight across the strings, and I'm looking to see how far my fingers are digging into the strings. I just want to play with the tips of the picks, just from the very tip to about a quarter of the way in, maybe half. I don't want to be going all the way in to where that little hole is where they bend. You don't want that. You just want to barely have the strings in there. And the other big one is, so many people have this problem of the old thumb pick banging on the banjo head. This is a tough one, especially if you've practiced for a long time. It's a tough habit to unlearn, but you can do it. You can do it. And the way to do it is, once again, to look down at your right hand while you're playing the banjo. Just watch it like this. Lean back and look at where your thumb pick is hitting that string and see how far in it's going, and practice pulling your hand away a little bit. You might have to raise your wrist up just a little bit from keeping too flat down there. Raising that up can help you get a little bit more advantage on it. But basically, go as slow as you have to do to be able to control where your thumb pick is hitting that string. Being able to control it is what you're after. And it's going to have to go slow. You're going to have to play this really slowly and really deliberately in order to be able to get that sound. All of these things combined, every one of these little techniques makes, like a 5%, 10% difference in your sound. But if you put 5% and 5% and 5% and 5%, pretty soon you're getting into some major percentage and you're going to be sounding better on the old banjo. I hope some of this stuff has been useful to you. If you want to learn more about learning how to play the banjo, if you're thinking about starting to learn how to play the banjo, I do have some beginner courses available. I've done a beginner video series for TrueFire. I also have a beginner book available from Alfred Publications. I also have some intermediates, jam session survival, courses on backup, and more. And you can find out more about learning the banjo from me, Ned Luberecki, by checking out my website, nedski.com, that's nedski.com, or morebanjo.com. Also, I give private lessons, and you can also hear me on Sundays on SiriusXM's Bluegrass Junction on a show I call More Banjo Sunday, where I do this and give a Sunday banjo lesson every week. So I'll see you on the radio, or I'll see you right back here next month at Bluegrass Unlimited. I'm Ned Luberecki. Contact me by email, ned@nedski.com, if you have any questions or requests for this Banjo Tips with Ned at Bluegrass Unlimited. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.